something that I really love about the shop is that it's so social. You're seeing lots of people every day, and we have a lot of fun out the back with the other guys, so it's a really fun place to work.
This is the Australian Butchers Guild podcast, brought to you by Meat and Livestock Australia, the podcast for passionate butchers.
Welcome back to the Australian Butchers Guild podcast, where we dive into the stories behind the people shaping Australia's butchery industry. Today we're joined by someone who's living a truly hands-on life, Hayley Pattison from Pattison Pastoral. Hayley is both an apprentice butcher and a farmer, balancing two demanding roles from the paddock to the plate. Welcome, Hayley.
G'day.
How you doing?
Yeah, really well.
How's lovely Deniliquin today?
It's very sunny. Yeah, beautiful haymaking weather.
Ah, that's what you want. I first met you a month ago, I suppose, at the apprentice competition in New South Wales at Granville TAFE. You're a mature-aged, well, I wouldn't say mature-aged, you're a young mature-aged apprentice. You're a lot younger than me.
Very polite.
Competing against a group of a lot younger students there. How did that go for you?
Yeah, it was great fun, and it was really nice to get out of the shop and actually meet some other people in the industry that are in a position where they are really passionate about the industry. Age, I've just turned 40, so yes, I was a lot older than the other participants, but I don't think that really was an issue. I think it sort of gives me I work with some young people, and sometimes the life skills sometimes really do come in handy.
Some of the younger ones can be a little bit, how do you put it nicely? A little bit in your face, and they can be a little bit noisier and appear to know a lot more than everybody else. But at the end of the day, everybody sort of plays off an even field in the competition. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, no, it was really great to meet some of those young people. It'll be interesting to see how their careers take off in the future.
We've seen some great apprentices come through the whole apprentice competition and through TAFE, and those doing workplace assessed college or tuition, whatever you want to call it, where the TAFE teachers go out to the business. There's been so many talented and skilled young people come through the trade in the last probably 24, 36 months that I've seen, and they've gone on to so many bigger and better things. Like some have stayed in their own shops and they've just kept on working there as a butcher, and then there's quite a few others that I've seen that have transformed into other areas, gone into management. The best part I like about it is they say they're going to buy their own butcher shop, which you guys have done.
Yes. I've done everything backwards. Bought the shop first and then decided I better learn how to actually cut meat properly. Because as a farmer, I sort of thought, oh yeah, this will be easy. It definitely was not. But yeah, glad I'm finally getting the proper skills now and realising that although growing your own meat, you can't compete with your own homegrown meat, but presentation is also extremely important when you're trying to actually sell to other people.
Yeah, people buy with their eyes, so making sure everything's presented nicely, it's key, it's paramount, and butchers have learnt that over the years, making sure everything's clean and tidy, nice and straight. One of my pet hates is crooked tickets. That's what sells the product, is being able to determine what that cut of meat is, and if you've done it right, you should have some sort of cooking method on it as well. Price is also very important because we need the money. We want to make sure the people are getting best value cuts that they can afford, because that's one thing that we see with people shopping between butcher shops and supermarkets, that they might have a limited amount of money when they go into the shop. So if they go to the supermarket, they know they can walk up to the counter and go, all right, I've got $20 to spend, that steak's $20 or $19, whatever it is, so they can walk out and be happy. Whereas if they go to a butcher shop, sometimes they might sort of spend a little bit too much. If they've only got that $20 to spend, it can be a little bit embarrassing for them, So having everything set up correctly in your business in the window, I suppose, is very important to avoid that issue.
Yes, and on price, like butchers cop it from some of the locals, particularly in, I think, a rural demographic where the farmers know exactly what they're getting for the animal, and then they see me selling lamb cutlets and they're like, oh, the farmers don't get that much for their lamb. And I just say to them, it's a lot easier to be a farmer than a butcher.
There's been a lot of farmers gone into butcher shops over the years. Biggest issue that we have is labour, finding somebody that's going to run it for them. You've actually done really well by deciding to take that on yourself. And as you said, you realise it's no easy feat. And I think it's a great thing to do, because some of these farmers that have gone into butcher shops have relied on the previous owners to support them. And some of these previous owners have probably been in the business for 10, 20 years. They're tired, burnt out, they want a holiday, and then you ask them to stay on, and and you offer them some reasonable money. Yes, a lot of them do, but it doesn't last for long. That's what I've found, that owners, eventually they say, I've got to get out. I really need to get away. I really do need that break. Because selling the shop hasn't actually been the solution to his problem. It's just, the problem is he's tired, and that's what this trade does to people, because it's a 5 to 7 day a week industry. There's not a lot of downtime during the day, as you probably learnt, and especially in your position where you're actually growing the cattle, so your day starts even earlier, I'd imagine, sort of heading out to make sure the bores are working or the cattle haven't strayed, or, there's so many other things you've got to worry about, and then going into a butcher shop. So that's been a few issues that we've seen.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to be there like all the time. Like you can't. Whereas with farming, as a grazing operation, some farms are a bit different. Like dairy farms are different, but as a grazier, we can set up our year so that we have certain times of the year where we have lots of work on, and then other times of the year where we haven't got much on, and we can either do maintenance or we can get away. And that's our downtime as farmers. Whereas butchers, you've got to have enough staff and talented enough staff to be able to leave that shop, but then to balance that with trying to keep your costs low, it's a really fine line, and it's just been a constant challenge to try and have the staff so that I can go away when I need to, like if we've got work on the farm that I need to do, but then having enough work for me to be there to keep the shop running.
I suppose to be a successful butcher shop that these days, you need that point of difference, not only from the supermarkets, but from other butchers as well. So what's your point of difference there?
Having the farm and being able to supply our own animals. The margin that the processors make from buying the livestock to selling it to the butcher, we are able to capitalise on some of that margin by supplying our own animals, and also having the knowledge of how to buy livestock and convert that into a saleable product.
Yeah, so your customers will be looking for more ethically and sustainably produced meat?
To be honest, not many of them are. Some of them are. Some of them want grass-fed, but there's such a disconnect between the farmer and the consumer. I don't think that a lot of people that are chasing the grass-fed actually realise what they're buying. A lot of that could be Brahmins from up north. It's grass-fed, but that's not going to be the same as a black baldy on multi-species irrigated pasture. So I think that they've got the idea that they want grass-fed, but they don't actually know what they're buying. Yeah,
we see that more recently, I suppose, consumers, they want to know where their meat comes from, what are they eating sort of thing. Years ago, it was just meat. Basically, it was beef and lamb and whatever else they're buying. But these days, they like to have that story behind it. And it's a bit like going to a restaurant, I suppose. If you go to a restaurant, you want to order up a $150 Wagyu steak. Where's it from? What is it? What makes this meat different? We've found that butchers need to know a lot more about their meat these days. And you actually raising it, you've got that story behind it, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, even like your Wagyu, when I was in Sydney for the awards dinner, went out for a Wagyu steak, but it was relatively cheap. And while I was eating it, it was good enough, but I was like, Wagyu what? Is it Wagyu cow? Is that why it's so cheap? Is it marble score too? They didn't say on the menu. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes into an animal which isn't communicated to the consumer.
Yeah, I brought this up a little while ago with one of the interviews I had, and it's when I go to a restaurant or go to a pub, well, my local pub, I'll go there for a meal with my wife, and they've got rump steak, they've got Scotch fillet, and they've got porterhouse on the menu. What is it? There's no definition, there's no description what it is, and I don't buy it. I end up going for a chicken schnitty or something like that. But it's so important to have that there. Do you specialise in a specific breed?
So on our place, we breed mostly black cattle, and that's purely because of the premium that we get from feedlots and processors when we go to sell big lines of stock. In terms of what goes through the shop, my customers don't care what colour the hide was. They just want to make sure that it's a good steak. So we do run a couple of coloured cattle. So I do actually have a Poll Hereford stud, just a small one. And any culls from that go into the commercial herd. So there are a few coloured cattle in the commercials. And then some of the trade cattle that we've purchased over the years might have a bit of Charolais or Simmental in them. We've also dabbled in some black Simmentals just for the hybrid vigour. Now, hybrid vigour is where two different breeds are bred together and you get, let's say, 10% faster growth purely just because of the mix of genetics. So we were chasing the hybrid vigour, but we get a premium for a black hide, so we've achieved both.
Yeah, interesting. So what would you recommend to be one of the better breeds to put through a butcher shop? Say off your property, what would you be swaying towards?
I really like the shape of something that's got a little bit of a Euro influence, but not too much. So you don't want a pure Euro like a Simmental because they're too hard to fatten. So we like the soft fattening ability of the British breeds, and I don't care what colour it is, and then with a little bit of the Simmental through them just for that, the big eye muscle, but then we get the fat cover from the British bred. And when we're choosing bulls for our herd, we want something that, because of our climate where we are, we have quite a short growing season. So we want something that's going to mature early, which means we want something that's going to lay down fat and is going to be in a killable condition in a short amount of time. So even though we do have a splash of Simmental in our cattle, the type of animal that we choose for our genetics has estimated breeding values that show a tendency towards fat composition along the rib and the rump. It's less about what breed and more about the type of animal within that breed.
Yeah, it all makes sense. The butchers tend to go for something with a bigger eye muscle, nothing too shallow. It looks a lot better. It cuts a lot nicer and does present a lot better.
Yeah, and early maturing as well. So we want good growth for age so that they are heavier at a younger age compared to the average animal.
What's roughly a good size would you use?
So I quite like my bodies to be between 250 and 280 kilos on the rail, which fits in with what we try and achieve with our commercial operation on farm. So the vast majority of our cattle go to feedlots. So their specs are between 350 and 500 kilos live weight. And so every year we have a couple that bust out the top of the grid because we're trying to take our average to a high number. Then we get some that are too heavy. So depending on the season, we might send all of our cattle to slaughter, and then the lighter animals I can sort of keep on, put a little bit of condition on them and then put them through the shop. Or if it looks like it's going to be a short season, we can send to a feedlot, and then the ones that are too heavy, they can go through the shop.
Getting back to the butcher shop, how do you juggle between the two, like your farming and the butcher shop? What's your day like?
That's a really good question. So over the years, we've set up the farm to be pretty efficient, and so my husband is able to run the farm pretty well on his own, and then I doesn't often happen, I try to have one day a week on farm so that we can get any jobs that are a two-person job, we can get them done, or I can just get paperwork done to do the farm.
Which side of the fence are you on? You prefer to be in the butcher shop or you prefer to be on the farm?
I really enjoy the social side of the butchery and the fast-paced nature, but then it is really nice to come back to the farm and it's just like, I don't know, it's a bit like meditating. It's quiet and it's peaceful and it's just you and the paddock with the birds. It's the balance that I get from the two, because they're so vastly different, I really enjoy the balance of the two. But yeah, both have positives.
Definitely do. So you're getting all your bodies in yourself. How have you found adapting to breaking them down? You've 2 years into the apprenticeship?
I'm on to my 3rd year apprenticeship-wise with the theory. So before I actually started the apprenticeship paperwork, I was running the shop on my own. I should be finished my apprenticeship by the end of the year.
Well done.
Yeah.
And you are breaking the beef yourself?
Yeah, so I can break down the beef myself. I have got some help though. So I have got a bloke that I've got going breaking down the beef on his own. And then I have got a contractor that comes in when we've got lots of bodies to do in a week. He's a boner by trade and he is great to watch. He's really, really quick. So although I can do it myself, I need more practice to get a bit quicker. And yeah, I'm picking up some skills from these other guys I've got helping me out as well.
Yeah, the speed comes with time. The last thing you want to do is rush through it and make a mistake because you can only cut it once.
Yeah, that's
It's a
right.
bit like a piece of wood, measure twice, cut once type thing. It's something that just comes to you eventually, and eventually, you obviously get faster and you get better at it. And I see some great butchers out there where I just love watching them breaking down bodies of beef. It's just enjoyable to watch. I remember the days when I worked in a supermarket for a little while and we didn't get beef in, but we got whole lambs in. And so we would be breaking down the lambs and you'd look out there over the counter and you could see all the people. They'd pull up and they'd watch you breaking down the lambs. So we had a sawman there. We'd probably do 150 or 100 lambs at a time. And, we'd just be throwing the lambs through the saw and then the other guys would be grabbing the pieces, hanging the fours and the legs, and then we'd be prepping up the rest of it. And people would stand there for 10 or 15 minutes and just watch us, because not everybody can do what we do. It's something that takes a lot of training, a lot of years before you actually really get it.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's really appreciated by a lot of people either. Like, you sort of don't realise how difficult it is until you actually have to go and do it, because they make it look so easy.
Yeah. You go into a processing facility and you look at all those people working in there, and there's, in some cases, there's might be, say, 50 people working on a chain, and they're processing anywhere from 400 to 700 animals a day. And there's a lot of work involved. And yes, there's a lot of people there, but everybody has a role to play in that whole system, and everybody's skill is needed. It's not just sort of anyone can do any job. Some people are better suited for other things.
Yeah, that's right.
What's been the toughest challenge you've faced in either role? How'd you overcome it?
The toughest challenge in the shop has probably been finding a really good team of staff that have the skills that I need, because I find meat industry workers I've found to be quite fickle and difficult to keep, particularly, and I don't know if this could be a regional issue, but I think there's a big shortage of skilled staff in the industry, particularly regional, and with the big distances between towns and the housing shortage, it's very difficult to get skilled workers to even come to town. So that's sort of why I decided, well, I've got to get trained myself and then I can train my own staff. In terms of the farm, well, it's actually really difficult to have fat stock all year round, especially for the people that want grass-fed. Maybe that's achievable in a high rainfall area, but for our area, we just can't have fat stock all year round without supplementing them with some grain. Another challenge on farm is the social side. It can be really isolating on farm because you're only working by yourself. So that's something that I really love about the shop, is that it's so social. You're seeing lots of people every day, and we have a lot of fun out the back with the other guys. So it's a really fun place to work. So I get my social kick out of the shop, but it is quite peaceful back at the farm. It is a really good balance.
What are you doing in the shop? Being in regional Australia, is it more of a traditional cut shop, or are you bringing in new products like some value add sort of lines that I might have seen you make at the competition, things like that?
As much as I would like to just keep it as traditional cuts, because that's what I would probably want to eat, we have to value add just for the margin, because for the traditional cuts, people can buy them in the supermarket and there's not enough margin on it. So we have to have value-added stuff, and the more the better for the profitability of the shop, which, like, I would love to just sell sides of beef, but not many people want to buy sides of beef.
No, it's a lot of meat to stick in the freezer.
It is a lot of meat. And in our area, everyone knows a farmer, so they can probably just buy it on farm. If they're chasing a side of beef, they're just buying it on farm.
I noticed on your website you are selling sides of beef there. Do you do many of them?
No, not many. It might be a couple a year, I reckon.
Are people buying the packs more?
Lambs are more because they're a smaller investment for someone. Like, it's a lot easier to fork out, a couple of $100 rather than a couple of grand. Like, a side of beef is a pretty big investment, whereas a lamb, you're going to go through a lamb in a month. But with the prices that they are at the minute, that's getting less and less as well. So back in 2023, when there was the market crash for beef and lamb, that was sensational for the butcher shop. So we actually had a mob of 60 lambs that we took to the sale yards, and we put a minimum bid on them, and they didn't make that bid. So I brought them home and I put them all through the shop, and we were doing so many lambs it just wasn't funny, and making a heap of margin as well, because even at $10 a kilo, people thought, oh, that's so cheap. That's competitive with chicken. But yet, as a farmer, they're only worth about $3 a kilo. So the margin I was making was huge. Whereas at the minute, there's just no margin. $12 a kilo to sell them on the hoof, and I can buy them for between $13 and $13.50 a kilo on the rail. So at the minute, there's no point me putting lambs from the farm through the shop.
Makes it pretty tough, doesn't it?
And no one's going to buy a lamb for $18 a kilo or $20 a kilo carcass weight. It's just too much for them when they can go and buy chicken.
Yeah, it's got up there a lot over the last 6 months, 10 months, I suppose. The lamb has reached its peak, and it's probably the dearest it's ever been, I think. But we're seeing, unfortunately, we're probably looking another 6 months or so until we start to see prices contract a little bit, I think, going by our insights, guys.
I agree. Great time to be a farmer.
But value adding, that's what you hit the nail on the head. Over the years I've been working with MLA, I've seen so many guys really embrace value adding and how it's turned their business around by, especially margin wise. It's a lot more work in some cases, but their margins turn around, and it does attract a different customer too, because not everybody just wants to eat a steak. People, we're such a multicultural society these days. People are looking for something different. So bringing in those, the different flavors from around the world, I think is very crucial to a business today, and keeping on top of the supermarkets as well to make sure that, because that's what those guys are doing. If you look at a supermarket, you look at the supermarket shelves these days, they've got a lot of pre-cooked stuff. Their value-added lines are growing, and they're using all these different flavors. So, it's so important for butchers today to watch the trends, to see what's happening out there, and experiment with their community around them. See what hits the nail on the head, and just go with it.
Yeah, that's right.
What would you recommend for someone making a tree change to come out and live and work out in regional Australia, say in a nice place like Deniliquin?
I've travelled around a bit this year on holiday throughout not only regional New South Wales and Queensland and metro, but I actually think, so some towns, they present their town better than others. But I think Deniliquin actually really nails it. You've got the river, you've got it right there, so you can go for a walk along the river for a couple of kilometres. It's a really pretty spot to go for a walk, and that doesn't cost you anything. In metro, you've always got your hand in your pocket, and it's so difficult to get anywhere and just to use your public transport. It's so busy and it's always costs money, whereas out in the country, you can just go for a walk along the river. It's peaceful, doesn't cost you anything. There's parks everywhere, playgrounds for the kids. Yeah, it's a really peaceful, friendly place to live. But then a couple of times a year, you've got things for entertainment. Like we've got the Denny Ute muster that's just been. So we've just had 20,000 people come through the town. So we can put a decent party on. So in terms of your social aspect, I think that rural towns have got probably more to offer than metro because everyone knows each other. You go to any pub and you'll run into someone you know. You go to any pub in metro, like, you don't know anyone. And, in terms of work opportunities, just walk into anyone. Everyone's screaming for workers. So work opportunities are certainly there. Childcare can probably be a bit of a challenge, but certainly like school-age kids, there's no dramas. So, yeah, I think it's a really, really good place to be. And I don't know how people in the city do it. Like, I can't believe people pay so much money to live in cities. It boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's certainly blown out over the last few years, that's for sure. It's just got harder and harder. And, you got to feel sorry for the younger ones coming through. They're going to really struggle buying a house in the cities and the metro areas, and even out in your areas there, the cost to live out there has increased significantly as well.
Oh, it has. It definitely has. But, even now still, you can buy a house for under 200 grand. It is actually insane that people would actually choose to rent a house in metro for $2,000 a week when you could just buy a little house in some little village and live the good life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not be tied to the bank.
Yes. Yeah, you've got your freedom. It's really peaceful and the sense of community is really strong because everyone's really friendly. Everyone's out to support you. It's a real sense of community, whereas I don't think that you get that in metro. It's too easy to stay at home and not be part of the community.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years? More on the farm or in the butcher shop or still doing both?
I'm not sure, actually. So we are on the lookout for more country, whether that's local or whether that's further north. I'm not really sure, but I would love to have more land to run more stock. The butchery side, I think we're in a really interesting position at the minute where we've started doing quite a lot of these buffalo contracts and cutting them up to go into metro. So, does that have potential? With the contacts that I've gained over the last 12 months, do we start moving into export? Because from what I can tell, that's a pretty lucrative industry at the minute. Who knows? I'm happy with where we are, and we're just, always on the lookout for new opportunities and keep growing.
With the buffalo, what is that going into manufacturing, or is it more of a trending sort of a protein?
Because the Barham Micro Abattoirs is the only abattoir in New South Wales or Victoria that will process buffalo. So we're working pretty closely with them, with a client that has all these buffalo. And so we're cutting that up, and a lot of it goes into Indian grocers, and also some of the whole carcasses go into butcheries in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. So building the logistics has been a challenge, but now that they're established, we can probably piggyback off that a bit and start selling more beef and lamb to metro consumers. Yeah, and I actually got hit up for some bison this week. That was a different one. Anyway, I don't know if that one will go anywhere, but who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, good luck with that one.
And then doing quite a bit of goat as well. So Barham Abattoirs has started doing skin-on goat, which domestically is pretty difficult to find. So there's a lot of skin-on goat out there, but it just gets exported. It's such an interesting time at the minute where we're sort of working with these different proteins and working with a different demographic. So instead of the Anglo-Saxon rural consumer, where we're dealing a fair bit with some mostly Nepalese metro consumers. So yeah, that's been a really, really interesting change in the business going forward. Maybe that's where the money is.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, you've got to look outside the square a little bit, don't we? And be prepared to change and just give it a crack.
Yeah, and I mean, they're the sort of customers that, they really do know how to eat nose to tail.
Yes, we've been spoiled.
Absolutely.
Anyway, a bit about you. What's your favourite cut of beef or lamb?
Toss up between a Scotch fillet or a crumbed cutlet.
Crumbed cutlet. You're about the second one that's actually mentioned that one. Yeah, it's an old favourite.
Yeah. My kids are very spoilt. So I had my 7-year-old, because we've just finished up with school holidays. So she came into the shop and I said, "Oh, what do you want for lunch?" And she just straight away, crumbed cutlets. And I was like, "Oh, you're a butcher's daughter, aren't you?"
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Any last words you'd like to put out there to anybody thinking I'm taking on an apprenticeship?
As a mature age, don't be afraid to take up an apprenticeship. And as a employer as well, I certainly will be putting on a mature age apprentices. Just that life experience, yeah, they may only be able to do school hours, but really valuable as a part of the team. Mature age apprentices, definitely go for it. Because butchery can really fit in with school hours. So I've sort of moved my business hours to work around school hours, particularly for myself. Yeah, some butchers that start working for me, they're like, "Oh, why are you only in at 8:30?" Said, "Well, I've got kids to raise." So yeah, we run things a bit different to other butcher shops. Yeah, to be sort of more family friendly.
I think if you're organised and you've got the right team behind you, you can start a little bit later and you can finish a little bit earlier. It's just about training your customers to understand when you're going to be there. You know, obviously you're not going to please everybody that way, but one of my old bosses used to say to me, "Why do we start at 6 o'clock in the morning when we've got our first customer walking through the door at 9 o'clock?"
Yeah.
I couldn't answer him that. I said, "We've got a lot of work to do." And he goes, "Be organised, be more organised, do a little bit more in the afternoon." We still stayed through till 6 or 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever it was, but you know, rather than sort of start slowing down at 4 o'clock after the school rush is finished, keep working hard and get yourself organised for tomorrow. So it's just basically makes the job so much easier and a sleep in.
It fits in really well with us. So yeah, don't be afraid of starting in an industry that traditionally has you up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think at the minute, the way that the industry has lost a lot of staff, I think it's got to be more flexible. And so if you go into a business who's looking for staff and you say, "Look, I'm keen to help out, but you know, these are the hours that I can work," they could put you on. I think the industry does really have to work towards being more flexible.
Yeah. I think a lot more butchers are these days than what they used to be back in the day when I started, because it was 5.5 days or nothing. Now that was it. Whereas these days it's 7 days a week, and I find more and more butchers are getting their 2 days off a week, and admittedly, some of them might be Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, Monday. That might be their days off, and there's a few around that have a split day off, but that's only because it suits them better. But, you know, I think butchers overall have become a lot more flexible with their hours and starting to realise that, hey, you know, you've got to look after your people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably the only other thing I hope to see in my lifetime is livestock sold on carcass merit rather than hide colour. And even with the lambs, I think that lambs are about 20 years behind the beef industry in terms of marbling and low stress stock handling. I think there's a lot to improve on with the lamb industry to be able to get a better product on the consumer end. And I think that low stress stock handling and marbling, there's a lot of improvement to be done there.
Yeah, there's a lot of work going on at the moment with the MSA lamb, where IMF, intermuscular fat, is crucial to the quality of the animal, and they're monitoring that. So there's some new systems coming. Well, it's in place now. I think Gundagai are doing a lot with it at the moment. So yeah, that is improving a lot. MSA lamb's been around for quite some time, whereas previously it was I think it was a day's aging thing to qualify to be MSA. It was 5 days age before it was been able to be cut up and sold as MSA lamb or lamb that had been graded under the MSA eating quality system.
Yeah, so I think we're starting to see it, and yeah, we'll see where that goes in the next 10 years.
Yeah, interesting times all around. Exactly. Really good to catch up with you. It was a pleasure meeting you the other week, and bad luck about not taking out Apprentice of the Year, but you did a great job. You know, everybody in that room should be very proud of what they achieved on that day of the competition, and you know, it was one of the best competitions I've had, well, closest competitions that I've had to judge anyway. But thanks a lot for your time, and I look forward to maybe catching up with you out at Denny one day.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks a lot, Hayley.
Thank you.
This podcast is provided for information purposes only. The MLA Group strongly recommends that listeners exercise discretion and obtain professional advice before relying on any information in this podcast.